One of my clients, she's one of the best experimental physicists in my field. She's applying for faculty positions right now, and she came to our strategy call last week concerned that she's not a micromanager like her postdoc advisor. She just refuses to push people like that. So does that mean that her new lab won't be as successful? And I see your point. I don't micromanage people either. In fact, I do the opposite. I manage people the way that I would want to be managed. But that's a mistake. People require different levels of feedback in order to do their job well. And that doesn't depend on your preferences or your past experience. It depends on their level of expertise and their role in your group. Treat people like you want to be treated is actually the wrong advice in this case. Because at some point in your scientific career, you're going to become what I call a manager. In corporate terms, that means that your job is no longer to deliver the technical results. Your job is to make sure that your team delivers the technical results. And that is called leadership. Inside academia, that looks like being a group leader or department head or dean. Your success depends upon other people's performance. And today we're going to discuss how to give everyone in your group the level of guidance that they need. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kathy Charasia. I'm a physicist and a career coach for brilliant scientists who are at a career transition. My job is to help you cross that energy barrier by defining your goals and writing down a strategy to reach them so that you can create a career and therefore a life that you love. But progressing in your career requires you to give up your bench, literally and figuratively. Your job is to get the funding so that your group can do the experiments. And if managing people is your scientific superpower, then you instinctively know how much feedback everyone in your group needs. But if that's not your scientific strength, then that's a skill that you need to learn now. And if you don't know what your scientific strengths are yet, take the quiz at kathy.science/quiz to find out. Let's start with a few roles in your group that don't require a PhD. For example, technicians in your lab probably don't have their own projects because their role is to support the success of the research group as a whole. And that requires a different kind of management than we've been taught. As a scientist, you work best when you have full freedom to do your job. It's not just that client. My first postdoc advisor was also a micromanager. He would literally stand over my shoulder while I analyzed data in Igor. No matter how often I explained, I am a postdoc. You hired me to think like a physicist. And if you just want somebody to do what you say like a robot, then fire me and hire 2 technicians. It's gonna be a lot cheaper. Or just let me do my job. But it's a mistake to assume that that's true for normal people like non-scientists. Everyone might not work best in that way. And last year I learned that one, full freedom is actually a burden to my new employee. I'm paying her salary and I'm responsible for setting the expectations. If I just say, you're the expert, do what you want, which is how you manage postdocs, by the way, how will she know that she's doing the right things? Knowing what the right track is and whether she's on it is the thing that builds her own confidence in her expertise in the first place. And 2, she wants me to review her work so that she can build her skills. I'm the leader, and therefore it's my responsibility to set the technical standards for my group's performance. And regular feedback on her work, which is exactly what postdocs don't need, by the way, because we know, 1, when something's not working, and 2, how to find a solution. We'll tell her whether she's doing those things right. And that's actually what builds her skill set. I know that training non-scientists on your team costs time and effort, but it's also your responsibility to make sure that they can do the job instead of just doing it yourself. Telling people what to do and how to do it is actually part of your new job. It's that leader part in group leader. Category 2 is managing PhD students. One of my clients, excellent physicist, an incredible mentor, was just telling me, I give my PhD students so much freedom, and then that doesn't work because then they don't know what to do. And guess whose fault is that? Yep, that'd be yours. For some PhD students, you're giving them freedom by telling them what to do. I know, it doesn't make sense. For me, that would be the exact opposite of freedom. But my door is always open is a management philosophy that worked for me as a PhD student, but it will not work for all your PhD students. So how do you know who needs freedom and who needs more guidance on their projects? Mark, my PhD advisor, was once telling me that stuck PhD students are hiders and seekers. Seekers, if they have a good PhD advisor, and for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to assume that you're a good PhD advisor, will track down their advisor until they receive the guidance that they need. So if you think that sitting outside your advisor's office with your computer or pulling out your data when you accidentally run into him at Qdoba is perfectly reasonable behavior, then that's a clue that this could be you. Hiders say nothing. They think that something's wrong with them, that they're not good enough. They won't come to you even if they don't know what to do next. If you think I should be able to do this on my own, or I shouldn't need help, or my advisor is very busy, newsflash, all advisors are very busy, that doesn't stop group leaders from doing their job, then that's a clue that this could be you. And if you don't know what you think, you have no clue what your thoughts actually are, you think you are your thoughts, we covered that in a previous video, and I will link it down below for you. All PhD students get stuck. All scientists have research projects that don't work and maybe never will. That's the nature of science. So if your students aren't making progress, that's a clue that they could be hiders. And what they need is more feedback from you. So check in with them. They won't be annoyed and kind of pissed at you like I would be. They'd be grateful for your guidance. If they don't know what to do next, it's your job to help them figure it out. Category 3, managing postdocs and senior research scientists. We all know that the best way to manage senior scientists is to let us manage ourselves. But exactly how do you do that? Again, simple but not easy. Lead by example. That's something that scientists and children, by the way, although I could argue that there's not much difference, truly respect. People, especially physicists, don't do what you say, we do what you do. For example, my postdoc advisor would regularly show up to Monday morning group meeting late, but we couldn't start without him and we couldn't move the meeting back, and that wasted everybody's time. But we shouldn't waste his time. And the only reason I don't behave that way is because my PhD advisor showed up to every single meeting 5 minutes early and really explained to me exactly how to value and care for other people's time. Another example, one of my clients was complaining that his senior postdocs sit on their papers for ages and fix them and perfect them, and they never get to his desk. But also on his desk are a pile of papers that he's never gotten to. And if this sounds like it could be you, it's helpful to step back and ask yourself, are you doing what you're expecting your senior postdocs and your senior scientists to do? If someone in your group is unproductive, they have no papers, they're taking 9 years to get their PhD, that's a clue that you may need to adjust your leadership approach because you're responsible for their success. You've reached a stage in your scientific career where your success depends upon their success. process. I covered this in a one-on-one coaching session last year, and my client, she was a postdoc at Columbia at the time, but now she's a group leader. Her PhD advisor was a classic, sort of stereotypical physicist who was just simply impossible to work with. And her question was, but how do I give feedback in the right way so that I don't become like my PhD advisor? And if this sounds like it could be you too, next week we're gonna discuss how to give great feedback, even if you're a physicist.